The relationship between Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin has been a source of intense scrutiny and controversy. Trump, the businessman turned politician, and Putin, the former KGB agent turned Russian president, presented a study in contrasts. Yet, their paths intersected on the world stage, creating a dynamic that would have profound consequences for international relations. From the outset, Trump's praise for Putin's leadership and his skepticism towards NATO raised eyebrows. Meanwhile, Putin saw an opportunity to exploit divisions within the West and advance his own geopolitical ambitions. The Trump-Putin relationship was more than just a personal dynamic, it became a defining feature of global politics. Their interactions, often characterized by a mix of admiration and animosity, played out against a backdrop of escalating tensions between Russia and the West. The annexation of Crimea, interference in Western elections, and the ongoing conflict in Ukraine served as flashpoints in this complex relationship. This essay will delve into the intricacies of the Trump-Putin alliance, examining its impact on international relations, particularly concerning NATO and Western alliances. It will explore how Trump's actions often aligned with Putin's interests, undermining Western unity and emboldening the Russian leader on the world stage. By tracing the historical events, policy decisions, and public statements that define this era, we can gain a deeper understanding of the forces that have reshaped the geopolitical landscape. The legacy of the Trump-Putin relationship continues to resonate, reminding us of the fragility of international norms and the importance of transatlantic cooperation in the face of authoritarianism. Throughout his presidency, Donald Trump's words and actions often raised concerns about his stance towards Russia. His public pronouncements frequently echoed Kremlin talking points, casting doubt on long-held Western narratives. Trump repeatedly questioned the value of NATO, a cornerstone of Western security, and downplayed Russia's aggressive actions in Ukraine. In 2018, Trump shocked the world by appearing to side with Putin over his own intelligence agency's assessment of Russian interference in the 2016 US election. Standing beside Putin at a summit in Helsinki, Trump declared, "I don't see any reason why it would be Russia who meddled in the election." This statement sent shockwaves through Washington and beyond, undermining confidence in the US intelligence community and emboldening Putin on the world stage. Trump's actions often spoke louder than his words. He resisted imposing sanctions on Russia, even when Congress passed legislation with bipartisan support. He withdrew the US from key international agreements, such as the Intermediate Range Nuclear Forces Treaty, which Putin had long sought to dismantle. And he repeatedly sought to cultivate a closer personal relationship with Putin, holding private meetings with the Russian leader without aides present. These actions, combined with Trump's rhetoric, fueled concerns that he was prioritizing his personal relationship with Putin over US national interests. Critics argued that Trump's actions were weakening NATO, undermining Western unity, and emboldening Putin to pursue an increasingly assertive foreign policy. Vladimir Putin, a former KGB agent steeped in the art of espionage and disinformation, has long viewed the West as a strategic adversary. He sees NATO expansion as a threat to Russian security and seeks to undermine Western unity by exploiting divisions within and among democratic societies. Putin's playbook relies on a combination of military force, economic coercion, and information warfare to advance his geopolitical goals. One of Putin's key tactics has been to interfere in Western elections, seeking to sow discord and undermine confidence in democratic institutions. Russia's interference in the 2016 US election, which US intelligence agencies concluded was directed by Putin himself, is a prime example of this strategy. By hacking into Democratic Party servers and spreading disinformation through social media, Putin sought to tip the scales in favor of Trump, whom he viewed as a more pliable and transactional leader. Putin has also used military force to assert Russian power and challenge the Western-led international order. The annexation of Crimea in 2014, a blatant violation of international law, was a watershed moment that demonstrated Putin's willingness to use military force to achieve his objectives. Russia's ongoing support for separatists in eastern Ukraine further underscores Putin's determination to keep Ukraine, a former Soviet republic with aspirations of joining NATO, within Russia's sphere of influence. Beyond military force and election interference, Putin has also waged a sophisticated information war against the West. Russian state-controlled media outlets such as RT and Sputnik spread propaganda and disinformation, seeking to undermine Western credibility and sow discord among Western populations. These outlets often portray the West as decadent and hypocritical, while glorifying Russia's role as a defender of traditional values and a bulwark against Western imperialism. So, let's talk about the impact on national security. It's something that can't be ignored. When we look at the relationship between Trump and Putin, we see, well, a lot of complexities. Some argue that this relationship has, compromised certain aspects of national security. Others believe it has in some ways strengthened international cooperation. It's a debate that continues to this day. What is clear, though, is that the implications are far-reaching and honestly quite significant. As tensions grew, the Western alliance found itself increasingly divided. Some leaders advocated for a firm stance against Russia, while others called for dialogue and diplomacy. This division, fueled by differing national interests and perspectives, weakened the collective response to Russia's actions. The relationship between Trump and Putin was not just a bilateral affair. It became a litmus test for loyalties within the international community. Allies questioned each other's commitments, and long-standing partnerships were put to the test. The world watched closely, as decisions made in Washington and Moscow reverberated across the globe. The established international order built on rules and mutual respect began to erode. Unilateral actions, disregard for international norms, and the undermining of global institutions became more frequent. This shift signaled a move away from cooperation and towards a more fragmented world. The legacy of the Trump-Putin relationship is one of discord and uncertainty. Trust between nations has been strained, and the repercussions of their interactions continue to shape global politics. As we look to the future, the lessons learned from this period will undoubtedly influence how nations navigate their relationships in an increasingly complex world.